A new discovery. Zara Hawkins wiped the sweat from her brow as the twin suns of KM6 beat down mercilessly upon the dunes. The human xenorchaeologist had been excavating this desolate patch of the planet for weeks, chasing whispers and fragments of ancient alien texts that hinted at something magnificent hidden beneath the sands. Her team, small but dedicated, worked in shifts around the clock, scouring the ever-shifting landscape for any sign of the fabled ruins. As she checked her scanners for what felt like the 1,000th time that day, a sudden beep made Zora's heart race. There, buried deep under an unremarkable stretch of desert, was an anomaly. An energy signature unlike anything she'd seen before, pulsing with a steady rhythm that almost seemed alive. "Raz, Micah, I think we've got something," Zora called over the comms, her voice crackling with excitement. Her crewmates, a burly mechanic and a lith sensor expert, dropped what they were doing and rushed over. Together, they calibrated their excavation drones and set to work, carefully blasting away layers of sand and stone. Hours turned into days as they dug deeper, the anomaly growing stronger with each meter of depth. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, their efforts were rewarded. The drones had uncovered a massive crystalline structure, its facets glinting in hues of purple and blue under the harsh sunlight. It was unlike any ruin Zora had seen before, its curves and spires defying the typically harsh geometries of the desert. With trembling hands, Zora donned her protective gear and approached the structure. Up close, she could see intricate engravings covering every surface, the lines pulsing gently with that same eerie energy. She ran her fingers over the markings, marveling at their delicate beauty. "What do you think it is?" Micah asked, her voice hushed with awe. "I don't know," Zora admitted, "but I intend to find out." Carefully, they searched for an entrance, their scanners mapping every contour of the alien structure. After several tense minutes, Raz called out in triumph. He had found a panel that seemed to respond to touch, sliding open to reveal a dark passageway leading into the heart of the ruin. Zara took a deep breath, steeling herself for whatever lay ahead. With Raz and Micah at her side, she stepped over the threshold and into the unknown. The passageway led to a vast chamber, its walls lined with more of those glowing crystals. In the center of the room stood a raised dais, upon which rested a single, perfect sphere of translucent purple. It pulsed with inner light, seeming to react to their presence. As they approached, Zora's scanner suddenly went wild, the anomalous energy spiking to unprecedented levels. She glanced at the readouts, her eyes widening in disbelief. "There's something alive in there," she breathed. "Some kind of stasis pod with a living being inside." Raz and Micah exchanged shocked looks. The discovery of ancient alien ruins was one thing, but a survivor, it was unheard of. Zara circled the pod, examining it from every angle. Her scans confirmed her initial assessment. The sphere contained a single humanoid figure, female, suspended in a deep hibernation state. Her life signs were faint but steady, preserved by the incredible technology of the pod. "We have to get her out of there," Zara said, her mind racing with the implications. An ancient alien, possibly the last of her kind, holding untold knowledge and secrets. It was the find of a lifetime. But even as excitement coursed through her veins, a sense of trepidation crept in alongside it. Who was this alien woman, and what had driven her people to such desperate measures to ensure her survival? What kind of world would she wake to find? Eons after her own had faded into dust and memory. There was only one way to find out. With infinite care, Zara and her team started working to unlock the secrets of the stasis pod, driven by the thrill of discovery and the weight of the responsibility they now bore. The desert had held its secrets for countless ages, but now, thanks to the boundless curiosity and determination of one human, those secrets would finally be revealed. Awakening. The stasis pod pulsed with an eerie glow, casting shifting shadows across the faces of Zara and her crew. They worked tirelessly, poring over the alien control panels and deciphering the strange glyphs that seemed to shift before their eyes. Micah's slender fingers danced across the crystalline interface, her brow furrowed in concentration as she tried to make sense of the ancient technology. "I think I've got it," she said at last, her voice trembling with a mix of excitement and trepidation. "These sequences here, they seem to be some kind of awakening protocol." Zara nodded, her heart pounding in her chest. This was the moment of truth, the culmination of all their efforts. With a deep breath, she gave Micah the go-ahead. The pod began to hum, the sound building in intensity until it filled the chamber. The crystal walls resonated with the vibrations, creating an unearthly harmony that sent shivers down their spines. Slowly, the translucent shell of the pod began to dissolve, revealing the figure within. She was humanoid, with delicate features and skin that shimmered a soft lavender in the pulsing light. Her hair, a cascade of silver, framed her face like a halo. As the last vestiges of the pod melted away, her eyes fluttered open, revealing irises of the deepest amethyst. The alien woman took a shuddering breath, her body arching as life flooded back into her limbs. Zara and her crew stepped back, giving her space as she slowly sat up, her movements graceful yet stiff from eons of disuse. "Easy," Zara said softly, holding out a hand in a universal gesture of peace. "You're safe now." The woman's eyes darted around the chamber, taking in the unfamiliar faces and the ruins of what had once been her world. When she spoke, her voice was a melodic whisper, the words foreign and haunting. Zara tapped her universal translator, hoping against hope that it would be able to decipher the ancient language. For a moment, there was only static, but then a voice emerged, speaking in accented but understandable English. Where am I? Who are you?" the woman asked, her gaze settling on Zara. "My name is Zara Hawkins. I'm a xenorchaeologist from Earth. We found you in this stasis pod, buried beneath the desert sands. Can you tell us who you are?" The woman closed her eyes, a flicker of pain crossing her delicate features. "I am Lyra, of the Nautilans, or at least I was. How long has it been?" Zara glanced at her crewmates, hesitant to deliver the news. "We're not entirely sure, but based on the age of these ruins, it's been a very long time. Eons, perhaps." Lyra's shoulders slumped, the weight of countless years pressing down upon her. "Then it's true. They're all gone. My people, my world, everything I knew." Zara's heart ached for this lost soul, torn from all she held dear and thrust into an alien future. She knelt beside Lyra, offering a comforting hand on her shoulder. "I know this must be overwhelming, but you're not alone. We're here to help you, in any way we can." Lyra looked up at her, amethyst eyes brimming with unused tears. In that moment, a bond was forged between them, a connection that transcended the vast gulf of space and time. "Thank you," Lyra whispered, her voice heavy with gratitude and grief. "I don't know what the future holds, but knowing that I have allies, even in this strange new world, it gives me hope." Zara smiled, helping Lyra to her feet. Together, they stood amidst the ruins of a lost civilization, the secrets of the past mingling with the promise of an uncertain future. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, human and Novalan, united in their quest for understanding and their determination to unravel the mysteries the desert had hidden for so long. Secrets of the past. As Lyra regained her strength, Zara and her team set up a temporary camp within the ruins. They worked to make the ancient chambers habitable, cleaning away the dust of ages and setting up equipment to study the fascinating relics left behind by the Novalans. Lyra watched them work, her eyes distant as she struggled to come to terms with the reality of her situation. One evening, as they sat around a makeshift table sharing a meal, Zara broached the subject that had been on all their minds. "Lyra," she said gently, "I know this must be difficult for you, but we're all very curious about your people. Would you be willing to share your story with us?" Lyra was silent for a long moment, her gaze fixed on the dancing flames of their campfire. When she spoke, her voice was soft but clear, echoing through the ancient halls. The Novolans were a proud race, with a history stretching back millennia. Our technology, our art, our philosophy. We believed ourselves to be the pinnacle of civilization in the galaxy, but we were wrong. One evening, as they sat around a makeshift table sharing a meal, Zura broached the subject that had been on all their minds. "Lyra," she said gently, "I know this must be difficult for you, but we're all very curious about your people. Would you be willing to share your story with us?" Lyra was silent for a long moment, her gaze fixed on the dancing flames of their campfire. When she spoke, her voice was soft but clear, echoing through the ancient halls. The Novolans were a proud race, with a history stretching back millennia. Our technology, our art, our philosophy. We believed ourselves to be the pinnacle of civilization in the galaxy, but we were wrong. She paused, taking a sip of the unfamiliar but comforting beverage Micah had prepared. "We first encountered the Vindax when they attacked one of our outer colonies. They were ruthless, their ships and weapons far more advanced than our own. We fought back, but it was like trying to hold back the tide." Zara leaned forward, her eyes wide with a mix of fascination and horror. "What did they want? Why attack you?" Lyra's expression darkened. "Power. The Vindax believed themselves to be the rightful rulers of the galaxy, and they saw our technology as a means to that end. They hunted us relentlessly, stealing our secrets and destroying our cities. In the end, we were forced to take desperate measures." She gestured to the ruins around them. "This place, and others like it scattered across the stars, were our last hope. We hid caches of our knowledge and technology, in the hopes that one day, someone would find them and use them to stop the Vindax." Raz, who had been listening intently, spoke up. "And that's where you come in. You were put into stasis to guide whoever found the caches." Lyra nodded. "I volunteered. Someone had to bear the burden of our legacy, to ensure that our sacrifice was not in vain. I never imagined I would sleep for so long, or wake to find myself the last of my kind." Zara reached out, placing a comforting hand on Lyra's arm. "I'm so sorry for what happened to your people, but I promise you, we will do everything in our power to honor their memory and protect their legacy." Lyra met her gaze, amethyst eyes shining with gratitude and determination. "Thank you, Zora. I know the task ahead of us is daunting, but with your help, perhaps we can finally put an end to the Vindax threat and restore peace to the galaxy." As the fire burned low and the stars wheeled overhead, the weight of Lyra's revelations hung heavy in the air. The Novolan story was one of tragedy and loss, but also of hope and resilience. Zara and her crew knew that they had stumbled upon something far greater than just an archaeological find. They had been given a chance to shape the future of the galaxy itself. In the days that followed, they threw themselves into their work with renewed purpose. Lyra shared her knowledge freely, guiding them through the intricacies of Novolan technology and helping them decipher the clues left behind by her people. Together, they began to unravel the secrets of the past, each discovery bringing them one step closer to their ultimate goal, finding the hidden caches and using their power to protect the innocent from the machinations of the Vindax. But even as they made progress, a sense of urgency hung over their efforts. The Vindax were still out there, and it was only a matter of time before they caught wind of Zora's discovery. The race was on, and the fate of countless worlds hung in the balance. Zara and her crew had started this journey as simple explorers, but now they found themselves on the front lines of a conflict that had raged for eons. It was a daunting prospect, but one they embraced with all the courage and determination of their human spirit. The secrets of the past had been revealed, and now it fell to them to use that knowledge to shape a better future, for themselves, for Lyra, and for all the beings of the galaxy who look to the stars with hope in their hearts. The hunt begins. News of Zara's incredible discovery spread like wildfire through the galactic community. The idea of a living Novolan, a relic of a long-dead civilization, was the stuff of legends, and it didn't take long for the wrong sorts of people to take notice. Zara was in the midst of examining a particularly intricate piece of novelant technology when the alarms started blaring. She looked up, heart racing, as Raz burst into the room. "We've got company," he said grimly. "Vindax scouts, at least a dozen of them. They must have picked up on our transmissions." Zara felt a chill run down her spine. They had always known this was a possibility, but she had hoped they would have more time. She turned to Lyra, who had gone pale at the mention of her ancient enemies. "Lyra, I'm so sorry. We never meant to leave them here." The Novellan woman shook her head, a fierce determination settling over her delicate features. "It's not your fault, Zara. The Vindax would have found me sooner or later. At least now I have a chance to fight back." They sprang into action, gathering what supplies and equipment they could. Micah worked frantically to download as much data as possible from the ruins' computer systems, while Raz prepped their ship for a hasty departure. As the sounds of battle drew closer, Zara and Lyra shared a look of grim understanding. They had both known this moment would come, but the reality of it was still jarring. With a final nod, they sealed the doors of the ancient structure and raced towards the waiting ship. Energy blasts scorched the sand at their heels as the Vindax scouts closed in, their sleek, predatory ships casting ominous shadows across the dunes. They barely made it aboard before Raz punched the thrusters, the force of the acceleration slamming them back into their seats. Zara watched through the viewscreen as the ruins of Lyra's world fell away beneath them, her heart heavy with the knowledge that they might never return. But there was no time for regret. The Vindax ships were hot on their tail, their weapons tearing through the fabric of space itself. Micah, her face set in grim concentration, worked frantically to evade their pursuers, guiding their small craft through a dizzying array of twists and turns. It was Lyra who saved them in the end. With a cry of exultation, she leaped to the navigation console and input a series of coordinates that sent them hurtling into the swirling maelstrom of a nearby nebula. The Vindax, caught off guard by the sudden maneuver, hesitated just long enough for the nebula's electromagnetic storms to swallow Zara's ship whole. They emerged on the other side battered but alive, the scanners showing no sign of pursuit. Zara sagged back into her chair, adrenaline still coursing through her veins. That was too close. We can't go back to KM6, not now that the Vindax know we were there. Lyra nodded, her expression thoughtful. "You're right, but there are other places we can go, other catches hidden throughout the galaxy. My people left clues, star maps encoded in our technology. If we can decipher them, they will lead us to the next piece of the puzzle." Raz grinned, the thrill of adventure gleaming in his eyes. "Then what are we waiting for? Let's see what those star maps have to say." As Micah brought up the holographic display, the shimmering lines of ancient Novellan text dancing in the air, Zara felt a surge of excitement mingled with trepidation. They had escaped the Vindax for now, but she knew this was only the beginning. The hunt for the Novellan relics had begun in earnest, and they were now in a race against time and a ruthless enemy. But as she looked around at her crewmates, Raz with his unflappable courage, Micah with her brilliant mind, and Lyra with her ancient wisdom and fierce determination, Zara knew she couldn't ask for a better team. Together, they would follow the star maps into the unknown reaches of space, braving whatever dangers lay ahead in their quest to uncover the secrets of the Novellans and keep their technology out of the hands of the Vindax. It was a daunting task, but one they embraced with all the resilience and indomitable spirit of their human heritage. The hunt was on, and they would not rest until the galaxy was safe from the threat of the Vindax once and for all. Trials and revelations. The star maps led Zara and her crew to the far reaches of the galaxy, to worlds unknown and dangers untold. They followed the trail of the Novellans, each new cache of technology revealing tantalizing glimpses into the wonders and horrors of that long-lost civilization. On a frozen moon orbiting a dying star, they discovered a vast underground complex filled with strange, pulsating machines that seemed to warp the very fabric of reality around them. Lyra, her eyes wide with wonder and recognition, revealed that these were the power cores of ancient Novalan ships, capable of harnessing the fundamental forces of the universe itself. But the Vindax were never far behind, their relentless pursuit driving Zara and her team to the brink of exhaustion. They fought running battles across the stark landscape of the moon, the eerie glow of the power cores casting distorted shadows as they clashed. It was in one such battle that Zara first witnessed the true extent of Lyra's abilities. Cornered by a squad of Vindax soldiers, the Novalan woman closed her eyes, her body beginning to glow with an inner light. With a cry that echoed through the ancient halls, she unleashed a surge of pure energy, the force of it sending their attackers flying like ragdolls. Zara stared in awe as Lyra slumped to the ground, her skin still shimmering with residual power. "How did you do that?" Lyra managed a faint smile. "The Novalans were more than just technologically advanced, Zora. We had abilities, powers that set us apart. In our hubris, we thought they made us invincible. But the Vindax had powers of their own, dark and terrible." From that moment on, Lyra began to train Zora in the ways of the Novalans, teaching her to harness the latent energy that flowed through all living things. It was a difficult and often painful process, but Zara embraced it with her characteristic determination. As their bond deepened, so too did the challenges they faced. On a jungle world swarming with vicious predators, they nearly lost Micah to a venomous bite. On a shattered planetoid laced with treacherous gravity wells, Raz broke his arm in a fall and had to be carried to safety. Through it all, the specter of the Vindax loomed large. They seemed to be growing more desperate, their attacks more brutal and unrelenting. Zara began to fear that they would never be able to stay ahead of their nemesis, that their quest was doomed from the start. It all came to a head on a tiny, unremarkable world on the edge of known space. As they explored another Novalan ruin, Raz stumbled upon a hidden chamber filled with strange, glowing crystals. Lyra gasped when she saw them, her face going pale. These are Novalan mind crystals. They contain the recorded memories and experiences of my people. With them, you could learn in moments what would take a lifetime to master." But before they could explore this revelation further, the Vindax attacked in force. In the chaos of the battle, Raz was cut off from the others, trapped in the chamber with the mind crystals. Zara watched in horror as a Vindax soldier bore down on her friend, weapon raised for the killing blow. Without thinking, she reached out with her newfound powers, her mind touching Raz across the gulf of space. In an instant, she saw through his eyes, felt what he felt, and in that moment, she understood. The crystals had bonded with Raz, pouring the knowledge and experiences of 1,000 Novalan warriors into his mind. With a thought, Raz summoned a blade of pure energy and cut down his would-be killer. He emerged from the chamber changed, his eyes glowing with an inner fire. As the dust settled, and they tended to their wounds, Zara couldn't help but wonder at the twists of fate that had brought them here. The Novalan's secrets were slowly being revealed, but each answer only seemed to raise more questions. And through it all, the bond between her and her crewmates, especially Lyra, only grew stronger. They had been forged in the crucible of adversity, tempered by the trials they had endured together. But even as they reveled in their latest victory, a sense of foreboding settled over Zora. The Vindax were growing more bold, more desperate, and she couldn't shake the feeling that their greatest challenge was yet to come. The star maps pointed the way to the final cache, the greatest repository of Novalan knowledge and technology. It was there, Lyra said, that they would find the key to defeating the Vindax once and for all. But as they set course for that fateful destination, Zara couldn't help but wonder at what cost that victory would come. They had already sacrificed and suffered so much. What more would the galaxy demand of them before this was over? As the stars streamed past the viewports of their battered ship, Zara steeled herself for what lay ahead. Come what may, They would see this through to the end. For the sake of the Novelans, for the sake of all the innocent lives threatened by the Vindax's lust for power, they would not fail. They could not fail. The final trial awaited, and Zara and her crew would meet it head-on, with all the courage and determination that had brought them this far. The revelations to come would shake the very foundations of the galaxy, but they would face them together, united in their resolve to protect the future, no matter the cost. The Last Stand. The final piece of the star map led Zara and her crew to a nondescript binary star system on the fringes of the outer rim. As they approached the coordinates Lyra had deciphered, a sense of unease settled over the ship. The stars seemed to flicker and distort, their light bent by an unseen force. "There," Lyra whispered, pointing to a shimmering anomaly that hung in space like a tear in the fabric of reality itself. The last stronghold of the Novelans, the Forge of Stars. As they drew closer, the anomaly resolved into a massive structure, a sprawling complex of twisting spires and pulsing energy fields. It was like nothing Zara had ever seen, a testament to the Novelans' mastery over the fundamental forces of the universe. But they weren't the only ones who had found it. As they approached the ancient station, a fleet of Vindax warships emerged from the stellar winds, their hulls bristling with weapons. "They've beaten us to it," Micah said grimly. "We're too late." But Lyra shook her head, a fierce determination burning in her eyes. "No, we've come too far to turn back now. The secrets of the Forge could turn the tide of this war. We have to try." Zara nodded, her grip tightening on the controls. "Lyra's right. We've got one shot at this. Let's make it count." What followed was a desperate race through a gauntlet of fire and destruction. The Vindax ships swarmed around them, filling the void with a barrage of deadly energy. Raz and Micah fought with everything they had, their skills honed by countless battles, while Lyra used her powers to shield them from the worst of the onslaught. But even as they dodged and weaved, trading blows with the enemy fleet, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The Vindax's attacks seemed almost half-hearted, as if they were holding back, waiting for something. And then, as they neared the heart of the Forge, she saw it. A massive Vindax dreadnought, larger than any ship she had ever seen, emerged from behind the station's twisting spires. Its hull was scorched and pitted, its armor scarred by the telltale marks of Novelan energy weapons. "By the stars," Lyra breathed. "They found a way to adapt our technology. That ship, it's like nothing I've ever seen." The dreadnought opened fire, and the world dissolved into chaos. The Vindax had been holding back, luring them into a trap. And now, with the full might of their adapted weaponry brought to bear, Zara and her crew found themselves fighting for their very lives. They were driven back, forced to take shelter in the twisting corridors of the Forge itself. As they fought through the ancient station, Lyra used her knowledge to guide them, unlocking secrets and powers long forgotten. In a vast chamber deep within the heart of the Forge, they found what they had been seeking: a nexus of pure Novelan energy, a wellspring of power beyond anything they had ever imagined. But the Vindax were right behind them, their forces flooding into the chamber. As the battle raged around them, Lyra turned to Zara, her eyes filled with a terrible resolve. "The power here, it's too much for them to control. If they claim it, they'll be unstoppable." She took Zara's hands in hers, her skin glowing with an inner light. "But I can stop them. I can overload the Nexus, cause a chain reaction that will destroy the Forge and the Vindax fleet with it." Zara shook her head, tears stinging her eyes. "No, Lyra, no. There has to be another way." But Lyra just smiled, a sad, beautiful smile. "This is the only way, Zara. The only way to ensure the Vindax can never use this power for evil." She leaned in close, her forehead touching Zara's. "You have to go. Get back to the ship. Get as far away as you can." "I can't leave you," Zara whispered, her voice breaking. I love you, Lyra." "I know," Lyra said softly. "I've always known. And I love you too, Zara Hawkins." more than the stars themselves. And then, with a final, searing kiss, Lyra was gone, racing towards the heart of the Nexus. Zara watched, her heart shattering, as the woman she loved was enveloped in a blinding light, her body dissolving into pure, radiant energy. The forge shook around them, the very fabric of space-time beginning to unravel. "We have to go," Raz shouted over the cacophony. "The whole place is coming down." They ran, fighting their way back to the ship as the station collapsed behind them. They'd barely made it out before the forge exploded, a supernova of novelan energy that consumed the Vindax fleet in an instant of searing, absolute destruction. And then it was over. The forge was gone, and with it, the last of the Novalan's great power. And Lyra was gone too, sacrificed to save them all. In the stillness that followed, Zara wept, her grief a raw, aching void in her chest. But even in her sorrow, she knew that Lyra's sacrifice had not been in vain. The Vindax had been defeated, their power broken forever. The galaxy was safe, thanks to the courage and love of one extraordinary woman. As they set course for home, Zora looked out at the stars, feeling the weight of all they had lost and all they had gained. The Novalans were gone, but their legacy would live on, in the knowledge and technology they had left behind, and in the hearts and minds of those who had fought to protect it. And Zara knew that she would spend the rest of her life honoring that legacy. She would tell Lyra's story, make sure the galaxy never forgot the brave, brilliant woman who had given everything to save them all. The stars shone on, eternal and unchanging, as Zara and her crew charted a new course. The battles they had fought, the bonds they had forged, these would shape the galaxy for generations to come. And though the road ahead was uncertain, one thing was clear. They would face the future together, united by the love and sacrifice of a woman named Lyra, and by the unbreakable spirit of the human heart. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would meet them head-on, in the name of all those who had come before and all those yet to come. The stars beckoned, and Zara Hawkins answered their call, ready to begin a new chapter in a story that had spanned eons. The legacy of the Novalans, and of one brave, extraordinary woman, would endure as long as there were those willing to fight for what was right. And fight they would, to the very ends of the universe and beyond. For in the face of the infinite, the human spirit remained unbreakable, unbowed, and unafraid. And that, in the end, was the greatest power of all.